Sir, you have to stop the presentation.
Okay, okay, I do that. Just a moment.
Are we beginning or waiting for more people?
No, we are starting.
We are starting.
Yes.
Stop button. Yeah. Right.
A very good morning to all of you. On behalf of the Center for Transportation Systems, IIT Roorkee, and my own behalf, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this inaugural Dr. L.R. Kadiyali Memorial Lecture. So before we get started with the proceedings for today, I'd like to introduce you all to the rich panel we have with us today. We have Professor Parida, Manoranjan Parida, Deputy Director, IIT Roorkee, also Joint Faculty, Center for Transportation Systems. We have with us Professor B.R. Gurjar, Joint Faculty, Center for Transportation Systems and Professor of Civil Engineering. Then we have Professor Sadhu Khan, Professor of Architecture and Joint Faculty, Center for Transportation Systems. We also have students and other faculty colleagues on the lecture today with us. So before getting started, I'd like to introduce you to how we to this particular lecture series. So this lecture is being organized as part of the IIT Roorkee initiative for endowment lecture series, which is to be held by each department and center. At CTRANS, we decided to name our endowment lecture series after the name of Dr. L.R. Kadiyali, who gave major contributions in the transport domain. So I will just briefly introduce Dr. L.R. Kadiyali and the reason why we named the lecture series after him. So Dr. L.R. Kadiyali was born in Karnataka in May 1933 and he earned a PhD in civil engineering in India and thereafter accumulated around 40 years of experience in highway engineering, including around 30 years in the service of the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, New Delhi, as a chief engineer and as a study director, road user post-study, Central Road Research Institute, New Delhi, where he dealt with planning, improvement and maintenance of the country's national highway system. After retiring from government service, Dr. Kadiyali started his own consulting firm, which was involved with many prestigious projects, such as the implementation of the National Highway Development Program in India. His firm also updated a 1983 study on road user costs for the Asian Development Bank, Government of India in 1992. And the results of his research effort were actually incorporated in HDM4 software. Dr. Kadiyali pioneered the introduction of cement concrete roads in India since 1985. And due to his persistent efforts, several projects adopting concrete pavements were taken up in India during the last 15 years. He was also the advisor for the Cement Manufacturers Association and authored several publications dealing with different aspects of concrete pavements, which were widely adopted in India. Dr. Kadiyali served as a convener of the Rigid Pavement Committee of the Indian Roads Congress, and he was responsible for bringing out several guidelines and code of practices which were adopted very widely. He was an honorary member of International Society of Concrete Pavements and author of books entitled Traffic Engineering and Transport Planning and Highway Engineering. Dr. Kadiyali, as a human being, was a very soft and simple person with a Spartan life. He even donated one of his kidneys to the cause of his relative while he was alive, and he passed away at the age of 83 in February 2016. To summarize, Dr. Kadiyali made significant impact on society, not only as a human being but also as an eminent expert for Indian concrete pavement technology and generally in the transport domain. So, after him, we are very happy to name this lecture series. So, with this introduction of Dr. L.R. Kadiyali, I'll now like to introduce and I'd like to actually invite the Deputy Director, Professor Manoranjan Parida, who is going to chair the entire event, to kindly deliver his address for the event. Sir.
Thank you, Professor Durga Tosniwal, Head Center for Transport Systems. Good morning, everyone. At the outset, it's my deep pleasure and honor to welcome Professor P.K. Sikdar, who is Advisor IRF, President ICT Private Limited, currently Chairman Research Council, CSR Central Road Research Institute, formerly also Director Central Road Research Institute, formerly a faculty at the IIT Roorkee, that time University of Roorkee, as the speaker of this first Dr. L.R. Kadiyali Memorial Lecture Series, which is the endowment lecture of CTRANS IIT Roorkee. We have been looking very keenly for this particular event. This is the first endowment lecture. In fact, we would have expected the event to be a physical event, because that way it provides opportunity for physical interaction with an eminent expert, and would have been very happy if Professor Sikdar could have been in the campus. And I know he is very closely attached with the IIT Roorkee campus. And we have shared this invitation not just with IITR staff and students, but we have also shared with other professional groups, those who might be getting connected. And Dr. Kadiyali, as Professor Durga Tosniwal has introduced, was a great transportation expert, and also associated very closely with CTRANS in its formative years. He contributed towards the development of the academic program, the MTech program. Specifically, he has developed especially one course on transport systems management, and he was the chairman for the peer review committee of CTRANS, where the committee looked at the activities of CTRANS and also made suggestions for moving ahead. Today, we are privileged that Professor Sikdar is with us, and he has very close to 5 decades of experience in the area of transport systems and transportation engineering. He is very passionate about it, and we are really fortunate that today he is going to talk about a very important topic, that is road safety management. There has been great awareness at government level, at different levels. A lot of initiatives have been initiated, and I'm sure these kind of continuous engagement, continuous discussions are really going to help in improving the road safety management scenario in the country. With that, now I'll really invite Professor Sikdar to start this particular endowment lecture. Thank you.
Okay.
Before Professor Sikdar starts, Professor Gurjar will introduce.
Okay.
Good morning, all. So, as you know, the speaker of first Dr. L.R. Kadiyali Memorial Lecture is Professor P.K. Sikdar, and as Professor Parida has introduced briefly, so formally I take this pleasure to introduce him. He is advisor to International Road Federation India Chapter and President at ICT Private Limited. Professor Sikdar is former professor of Civil Engineering Department of IIT Bombay, and he has also been Dean at IIT Bombay. Before that, he was faculty at Civil Engineering Department of IIT Roorkee. Dr. Sikdar is also former director of CRRI, Central Road Research Institute, as you know, CSIR's lab, which is pioneer institute in road-related research and development. Professor Sikdar is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineers, fellow of Institution of Engineers India, and also fellow of Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. Professor Sikdar has been involved immensely in the teaching, research, and R&D management for roads and road-based transportation sector, including highways planning, management, for more than 4 decades. So with these words, I invite Professor Sikdar to kindly deliver his enlightening lecture as the first Dr. L.R. Kadiyali Memorial Lecture. Professor Sikdar, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Gujar. I'll share the screen now. Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I really feel honored to be invited to deliver this first Dr. L.R. Kadiyali Memorial Endowment Lecture of CTRANS at IIT Roorkee. I have closely known Dr. Kadiyali for almost 40 years of his life since 1975. Well, as it has been described, he was a very simple man and totally committed to his profession. And I am very pleased to be delivering this lecture linked to his memory. As you can see, I have chosen this topic, road safety management in national priority. Is it moving? Slides are not moving. What happened? Yeah, it's moving. This is the content of the lecture, covering from global problem to our national problem, and then how to manage road safety if we are managing or not managing, and then with lessons that we have learned so far and the way forward. Now, first, I would like to give you a few global facts that 1.35 million people lose life through road accidents. And this is the first cause of death to children as well as young adults. And it is actually the 8th leading cause of death globally. But most alarming fact is that 54% of all these deaths are to the few vulnerable road users like pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists. And that is becoming alarming. And situation when I show you about India, that is even more alarming. Even every 24 seconds, someone dies in the world. And of course, the majority of these are in low and middle income countries with very little motorization, but with a lot of road related crashes. And now this is another story about the death due to various causes at different ages. Now, as you can see, the cancer, heart disease, brain disease, they are taking a toll, no doubt. But question is, they come largely in the later years after 30, 40 years of age. However, the red curve is for the road accidents, and that shows how damaging it is. The young and adults are killed on road, and huge national loss for every country. And this is, of course, the global figure summarized in one figure. You can see that India and China are the only two countries which are painted black here in this, which have more than 50,000 road fatalities every year at this point in time. Now, here, how it has gone, my God, it has gone to end wrong button pressed. Okay, I go to that. And this is a figure, a photograph, which shows the carelessness of the road system about the road safety. It is not from India, no doubt, but situations are plenty in India like this, similar to this. And as you can see, what a mismanagement. Everything is there, but the curve in front is not warned about. And that's the kind of road safety we still continue with. Let us see a few problems which are faced by our incredible India, which are the result of course, the poor road safety management. That's the fact of 2019. That's the latest data available. 151,000 plus road deaths, accounting something like 417 deaths per day. And by the time we finish this lecture, some 20 odd peoples will be dying on our Indian roads. However, these numbers are only published by government, but question is the World Bank and ADB estimates show that India has more than 300,000 road deaths at present. Now, with an investigative mind, if we try to compare the fatality rate, that is death per 10,000 crashes, you can see that India is 3,240 fatalities out of 10,000 accidents, and United States have only 66. What does it mean? This is due to poor and unsafe infrastructure, which are probably not forgiving, as well as the post-crash response is extremely slow and inadequate, and of course, many other issues. So these are trying to show us how we compare with those nations where things are much better. Now, one of the serious issue in our country is the mixed traffic, which we all know. All this traffic sharing the same right of way without segregation. Also, as you can see in the graph, while the growth in the number of motor vehicle is very steep over the years, the proportion of two-wheeler is something like 80%. And of course, at recent time, promoting the electric mobility, the e-rickshaw fleet has joined our road traffic. And as you can imagine, it's adding to the more chaos of the existing roads. This pie diagram shows the road fatality to users of different modes. And it can be seen that these shown with the red arrows are the vulnerable road users, with the portion for two-wheelers is the largest, and total is something like 66% of all road fatalities are to vulnerable road users. If we try to see across our whole country in different states and union territories, as you can see, 20 states and union territories are above the national average of 64%. And some of them on the left-hand side of this figure, as you can see, like Goa has got two-wheeler and pedestrian fatalities constitutes everything, all kind of almost something like 90% of their total road fatalities. I call this road safety managed as a silent disaster. Every 4 minutes, someone dies in Indian roads, and by comparing them to many other natural disasters from our lifetime or our living memory, you can see that in this slide, the road fatalities and the injuries are no less a disaster comparing to any of the other disasters that we have seen in our lifetime. Even comparing to the COVID-19 pandemic of last 2 years, we can see that it has caused something like 4,62,000 till date death, and it has infected something like 34 million people in India. Whereas in last 10 years, the road deaths were nearly 14 lakhs. 14 lakh people died on road. These figures are old figures which are shown here. These are not updated. Now, road accidents, they are literally a kind of disaster in its form, the way it is. And being totally concerned about such global massacre due to road crashes, United Nations declared a UN decade of action for road safety since 2011 to 2020, aiming to save 5 million lives by calling for 50% reduction within 10 years. The projected value must be reduced to half of it, and hoping that 5 million lives will be saved. While declaring this, actually, they, just one second. They gave a solid framework, actually. They gave a solid framework of 5 pillars. And these 5 pillars were something like institutional strengthening, safe road infrastructure, safe vehicles, safe road users with, of course, safety consciousness and behaviors, and of course, the post-crash response to rescue the victims. Now, realizing the fact that many of the countries probably will not be able to develop the requirements of these 5 pillars the way they are to be implemented, United Nations through WHO prepared various manuals for each of those actions and tried to disseminate them freely across the globe for speeding up the implementation. And of course, they realized that management will not be able to develop these art or skills, and that's why they guided them. But what happened that all these recommendations came out from a kind of safe system approach, which was followed by a few successful nations who have experienced good result out of it in terms of road safety. A safe system has the focus on the resilience or tolerance of the human body, which cannot survive an impact without serious damage or injury. And that's what was the basic premise. And on that basis, everything was designed. And therefore, everything else of road traffic system is required to support this condition of resilience of the human body. And therefore, the safe system demands a few things. Obviously, a safe road, as it has been shown here, safe road, safer vehicles, as well as drivers have to be conscious, and road user has to be alert, as it says, with, of course, a kind of managed speed. Although it is said here low speed, managed speed, appropriate speed at appropriate places. Now, in addition, we need to get good data, as it is said here, understanding the accidents. But that's where we have failed. We do not have appropriate crash data in this country. And as a result of that, every intervention is something like ad hoc or intuitive only. Further, we need to educate the people about the risk that is there when they travel by road. That is road safety education. Also, we need to have the strict driver licensing system, which is also very poor in India, as you all know. Of course, certain things are changing now. There should be proper legislation for road traffic. Of course, India is not weak in that. We have plenty of legislation, but their enforcement is extremely weak because all of that is done manually. And that's what is the biggest problem. And of course, above all, is it is shown here, political commitment. I don't know where do we have that commitment. It appears it is missing in this system. Now, this is another way the safe system approach is described, showing the human tolerance of crash impact in the center and all the other kind of programs to be implemented are shown all around, and which shows the actual management actions that are required on the outer circle. Something like education, monitoring and management, licensing of drivers, etc., which I already mentioned. It is often also described in this way, in a simple form. Just like a five-star person, he will be belted, traveling at right speed, not impaired, traveling in a five-star car, traveling on a five-star road, and with managed speed, of course. That's what is safe system. Thus, safe system is actually a framework to assess, guide, and manage, or even to improve the road safety in road travel. The road, vehicle, and entire system has to protect the road user. That is the ultimate objective. And making them safe and forgiving, this all infrastructure is our utmost aim. Even when, of course, the road user will make mistakes. Even when he makes mistakes, he must be safe. That's the idea. Based on the safe system approach, Swedish Parliament, more than 2 decades ago in 1997 itself, they passed a bill saying that loss of human life in traffic is not accepted. They will not accept. It is also said that road, vehicle, and all other subsystems must be designed to human capacity and tolerance. That's what safe system said, and they adopted that. As a road users are going to surely make mistakes, and therefore we have to save them. That's what they said. And also one of the most important thing, first time came at that point in time, is the reciprocal rights and responsibilities. And that's what it says, that for any such mishap on the road or road traffic, the designer or provider or the manager of the road system and the users, they are equally responsible. And this has changed the road safety situation completely in Sweden, this parliament resolution. And today, they are one of the best country in road safety. Now, road safety management has got 3 basic elements: institutional management, planned interventions, and targeted results. Now, all that has to be implemented through a multi-sectoral and structured action plan, demanding some targeted results. And that's what is required as part of the management. Now, coming to the next slide, here I'm trying to see that what is to be managed. Here we want safe roads, safe road user, safe vehicle, and of course emergency care. Now, all these have certain actions which will make safe road user. Safe road user will be obtained when there will be road safety education, driver training, driver licensing, awareness of traffic law through campaign, enforcement, etc. Similarly, safe roads with proper design, visibility, speed control, junction design, whatnot, everything. Similarly, safe vehicles, emergency care as well. So these are the actions required to achieve these 4 things. Now, for each of these, there are institutions. To meet these objectives, we have these institutions like Ministry of Education, Road Transport Authority, police, NGO. For safe roads, we have all the PWDs, NHAI, ministry, road authorities, urban local bodies, etc., etc. And of course, they have to have road safety management capacity. Then only they will be able to do that. First thing required, therefore, is the capacity to carry out those actions, which is actually grossly deficient or sometimes missing in the system. Any wise person, road safety expert, will recommend that these institutions to develop or acquire road safety management capacity. And that is a desperate requirement if we want road safety. Now, if you ask the second expert, he will say you get a bigger road safety management capacity. The third expert will say even bigger road safety management capacity. So that's the fundamental to achieve any road safety to start with. Now, let us examine one such case in our system, police. Let us take police. What do they have? Police, traffic police doesn't have the requisite training for urban traffic control, nor they have traffic engineering training or traffic management at all. These are being done intuitively and some experience here and there. Although more than 60% of road accidents and death occur on national highways and state highways, as per the data, there is no separate highway patrol or policing on the highways. Only when there is an accident, police will arrive. Otherwise, none. No policemen on the highways. Traffic police is available largely in the cities, in the major cities. Even smaller cities do not have some traffic police managing traffic. And they are entrusted with the job of enforcing the Motor Vehicle Act. Police is entrusted with to fix up the signs and signals required on the road. I don't know how much they are competent, who have taught them all these things. Law and order police enforces traffic management, obviously, in the remaining part of the country. And in the villages, you will see, I call them khaki police with the khaki dress. They manage the traffic and everything. Neither road authority nor the traffic police has the traffic engineering skill or the people in their group to do the job correctly. That's the situation at the moment. Another shortcoming is the reliable crash data, which is a big challenge. No data-driven or evidence-based intervention can be planned or delivered without such crash data available. That is why we probably know, as I say, we know probably very little about the huge road safety problem, because what is available in the government's provided data, probably we know very little. And I'll prove that in a moment in next few slides. In management parlance, it is said that what cannot be measured, that cannot be managed. And that's what is the fact of the matter in relation to road safety in our country. I want to elaborate it in a little bit more on this fact. That's a beautiful picture of an iceberg. And as we all know that 5 to 10% of the iceberg is visible on the surface of the water and rest 90-95% below the water. That's what is the fact. I have tried to simulate that iceberg by this squiggly line here, showing 5 to 10% of the iceberg above the water level. Now, question is, in the countries where the proper accident data is collected, they have established that one death, if there is one death, there will be 15 major injuries and 70 minor injuries. This is the proportion based on their data year after year. And therefore, internationally, one dead is to 85 injuries. That's this, the way the data tells. In our 2019 data, 151,000 death, injuries 451,000. What it means, 1:3. Just imagine how little we know about our road safety. These 1:85 and 1:3. That shows how little we know about road safety. Now, this is an accident. Surely this is an accident. It has climbed over this divider or service road separator. There is another accident, which also shows as if the driver was trying to do something else than normal driving. No, he was trying to travel the right way, but faced this situation the way it is. And our record of these data, these type of accidents says it's dangerous, careless driving under section 184, 189, 183, 185. They will categorize these accidents to be of these types. All are based on incomplete and inaccurate data. Now, question is that this data, whatever we have, this is not solving or serving any purpose, solving any problem, neither serving any purpose. But this challenge can be overcome by a common computerized data collection system, which is under preparation, of course, by Government of India at the moment. However, such a system are available across. Few of them, of course, not all of them are very good, but IRF India chapter has developed one called Road Accident Data Recorder, RADAR. Police collects the data through handheld device like tablet or smartphone. It is transmitted to the server. Server has a tool to analyze this, and then that analysis and data can be serving the purpose of doctors, engineers, insurance agencies, adjudication. Everything can be served from that. At the moment, the system is not there. This is a road safety management framework. Now, this was developed by World Bank for a study in New Zealand way back around 2000 or 2000 to 2003 or 4. Now, here, as you can see in the bottom, it is the lead agency or the institution commanding, and their role is shown in the bottommost belt here in the pyramid. Coordination, legislation, funding, promotion, etc., etc. And there are about 10 to 12 agencies in our country which have distinct roles in the delivery of road safety. All of their efforts are to be coordinated, and nobody is coordinating at the moment. And that's what is fundamentally missing in the management functions. Coming to the middle level, interventions. All interventions are to be developed collectively for collective delivery and multi-pronged approach, serving every corner of road safety. And third level at the top of the pyramid is every action or intervention will have a targeted result, which shall be monitored and evaluated from time to time. Without that, road safety management is missing. That will be missing. Now, as you can see in this map, this India or South Asia, you can say, South Asia, that lists some of our states. World Bank had used this capacity assessment, which I have just shown, framework throughout the world. And India is not missed. Several states in India had undergone this capacity management review. But these are the states now, as of today, which have worst road safety records. How come? They know what they are missing, and still they have the bad situation. And that's the fate of the case. I would like to say about another way to look at the road safety management, and that's the head-on matrix. This matrix was developed by Dr. William Haddon in 1970 itself, who is considered to be the father of modern injury epidemiology. It has become the most commonly used paradigm in the injury prevention field. The matrix looks at factors related to personnel, rather the road user. In our case, it will be road user attributes, agent attributes, and environmental attributes. I'll come to those in a moment. But they consider these before the event, during the event, and after the event. In our case, the accident. Event is accident. So before the accident, during the accident, and after the accident, how should we save things, protect things, so that the accident doesn't damage as much as it does at the moment. This is the primary structure of the head-on matrix. As I said, pre-event, during event, post-event. And post is, of course, the road user, equipment, the vehicle, and environment, of course, physical and social it will have. Now, let us go to the three basic things, which are the three phases of the event of the crash. If we consider crash as the event or accident as the event, then pre-crash, during crash, post-crash, what way we can save or reduce the impact? Reducing the risk of exposure in case of pre-crash, reducing the number of accidents. During crash, reducing the severity of accident. If the crash takes place, how can we save the damage? That means severity of accidents can be reduced. And post-crash, obviously, as quickly as possible, we have to provide the help. Now, I will take only one, the pre-crash, to explain what it means or how to look at the mitigation actions, or rather how to mitigate the problem. Now, in that, you can see that the human means the passenger or road user or driver or pedestrian, anybody, reduction of risk exposure, knowledge of the road rules, practical training must be there, police enforcement must be there for them, and of course they should be using bright cloth if they are traveling on night. Vehicle, it should have proper lighting, proper maintenance, it should be roadworthy. Environment, of course, road must be the best. It must be forgiving, safe in every possible way, with road geometry and all other features, signs and signals, etc. So I'll not go into the other during crash and after crash, but I tried to show you that the head-on matrix provides for every action that is required to be taken before, during, and after to manage road safety much better than what we are doing at the moment. Again, our incredible India, road safety is managed by multiple agencies with lack of coordination, and also, I often try to say, a mismanagement problem. Now, although I'm telling that it's all mismanagement or whatever happening, I mean, maybe there is no proper management till date. I would like to say that there is hope. I can say that there is hope that we can do better. Now, why I am saying so, I want to prove that to you. Here it is. Eradicating polio has been a great feat by India. That's what the WHO said. Now, what did we do to get to this feat, we had a polio mission and publicized extensively for the immunization or vaccination. What happened? We all remember that every now and then, every month, at least twice, you will see the banners saying 2 drops of polio next Sunday. And no one dared to defy this. And every child was immunized. And that's why today we are with the eradication of polio. In that case, what is required for road safety? We want a road safety mission with 2 drops of road safety next Sunday. That's how we will contain the same passion must be brought in for road safety through an appropriate management framework, and we will do it better. Let us pause here and try to understand how a few nations in the world handle this public health crisis so successfully, and they are in the league today to guide others. Now, that's what it is. These are few nations which had the exactly same problem of rising road deaths till 1970. And then they decided to take very strict and systematic actions and succeeded to contain this menace since 1970 onwards. And it continued. It continued and it continues. Now, all those nations found the vaccines. I, of course, a lot of management exercise. I mean, something failed, something else was done. Like that, they did a lot of things. And these were found to be the most promising one. And that's what, as we are saying, that manage speed, stop impaired driving, use seat belts, use helmets, improve roadway design. These things gave the result to them. What are we waiting for? We must jump onto this, try to manage this appropriately across the country, and we will get our result. I show one example. Since 1970, this example from Japan. Since 1970, when there was a lot of pedestrian accidents and pedestrian fatalities in Japan, they started building footpath on all roads. And these green bars are those building of footpaths as it continued. And the blue line, which shows how the pedestrian fatality declined as they built the footpath. So every action has a positive reaction like this, a direct impact on the pedestrian fatalities in terms of reduction. And that's how we must plan the interventions very systematically to get results. I'm showing here the example of Australia. As you can see, they were also climbing exactly the way we are climbing on our road deaths. But they took, since 1970, very stern actions, and they are again one of the best country today, and in terms of road safety. And you can see what all they did. They implemented a structured action plan with various activities, various actions in a systematic way. And they also did the black spot treatment, what I have circled here in this slide. As you can see, the black spot treatment was also taken. But what happened to our India's black spot program? It's going on since last 6 years without any sign of improvement in terms of road safety situation in the country, in spite of spending huge, colossal amount of money through the black spot program. Because the black spot program designed was not correct, and the way it is being implemented, that is also not correct. That's the lack of management where we fail. A structured action plan was implemented by all these countries, and that's how they got the benefit. And That is not the case in India, and that's where is the issue. Now, I bring in another example, very special example. You see, New Zealand didn't join the club of those countries who tried to reduce their road safety problem since 1970. They woke up in 1990, 20 years later after those other countries. And they took exactly same set of steps, strict action and management. And they reduced it. And you can see this red line. Red line is of New Zealand. And they did it, and they are better than many, many countries today. They are in the league with all those countries like Sweden, Australia, and UK, etc. That's how the German philosopher said the bottleneck is at planning and delivery of the implementation. We know everything about road safety, what is to be done, how it is to be done, but we are not doing. That's why he said, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. That's the fact of the matter. Here is a very interesting kind of outcome of a research in Johns Hopkins University. They said that to do the road safety, you need first at the base, you have to build the management capacity, strengthening the road safety pillars. And then only you can go to safe systems approach. Even to apply safe systems approach, you need this management capacity. And only when you have applied safe system approach, you can think of getting into sustainable goals, integrating sustainable goals to your road safety objective. Now, having seen the failure of first decade of UN decade of action for road safety, the global ministers met in February 2020 to request for another decade of action. And those are the ministers who have joined in the conference in Stockholm in February 2020, and India was part of it, as you can see in the red circle where our minister is showing his face. Later, United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution and said, yes, let us have this decade of action 2021 to 2030 as the second decade of action for road safety. It has been formally launched on 28th October, some 2 weeks back, and it has the target that at least 50% of death and injuries must be reduced, or rather avoided. And that's what is the aim or target of this. Now, this is the global plan, decade of action for 21 to 2030. Now, they asked for action on 5 pillars again. But remember, the first pillar in the first decade of action was institutional strengthening. But here, of course, that remains, that is invariably required. Without that, nothing will move. But they have painted the picture for first picture slightly differently. And they said multimodal transport and land use planning. That's very, very essential to get into a road safety situation. And everything else remains same. Safe road infrastructure, safe vehicles, safe road users, and post-crash response that were there in the first decade itself. This global plan of 2021-2030 is also based on safe systems approach. It tells what to do. Recommended actions are listed here. These 5 things, what to do. I mean, that's what 5 pillars. It also says how to do it, the requirements, finance, legal framework, speed management, all of that is told in that. Also, it tells who to do it. Now, obviously, government alone cannot do it, and therefore they have included everyone else. It's a collective action, as I said earlier, and probably subsequently also. That's what is the case. Now, again, this is built on the safe system approach, this second decade of action. I'll not go through this anymore. I have told enough of safe systems approach. Now, again, our incredible India, what have we learned from the present road safety management? What have we managed so far? And what is the way forward? Let us think about that. Now, I mean, this is what I made 11 lessons. And of course, all these 11 lessons I have not produced. Actually, Professor Prajapati Tripedi, a development economist from, and as well as simultaneously he is distinguished professor at MDI. I took some hints from his one presentation or one lecture, and then added mine and made this list of 11 lessons that we have learned and we have to act on it. Now, I don't want to go through all of that. I will highlight only a couple of them. Let us take fourth one. Explicit assignment is required. There has to be a captain of the ship, and he should be totally accountable. In our road safety, there is no captain, there is no accountability. Everybody is responsible means no one is responsible. And if top is accountable, everyone will follow with that accountability. Let us go to the seventh lesson. There must be incentives to perform. Yes, there should be incentives too. Human beings are driven by the consequences. There has to be consequence for non-performance. Unless there is no consequence for non-performance, no performance. And that's what is being seen always, even in road safety. Let us go to 10th one. It is the system stupid. Yes, there should be improvement in the system or institution. It is not the people who will deliver. It is the strongest leader that is required in a system, which actually steers the ship and which will produce the result. You do not need big resources like US or any such country. Otherwise, small countries like Taiwan, Singapore, South Korea would not have made wonders. The system and the leader which actually delivers. We do not have a system. That's the problem. The same Indians outside India is doing wonderful things. We must understand that the road safety, it must be understood in a correct perspective, because it is a public good and free market will not deliver it. Road safety actually can be delivered collectively or collective action only. Of course, it is not the government alone which can deliver road safety. Government can facilitate with a good or vibrant implementation climate, facilitation, all that is their responsibility. An effective government will implement the policies effectively because it creates the environment, and that will bring the tangible results. The crisis of road safety is, in India, is not about that we don't know about road safety. We don't know what will work, what will not work. Only about implementation. It doesn't get implemented. There are lots of management related issues. Sometimes fund is not available, sometimes people are not available, sometimes whatnot. Many things not available. Let us build our competitive and comparative advantage of the big human resource, young human resource, by building this implementation climate. And then I feel that we will be very easily in the league of those nations with best road safety scenario. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for enlightening about a very important topic in this morning. And I am very sure that the participants attended from IIT Roorkee or outside Roorkee through our WebEx or maybe through YouTube. So they got some good lesson, even beyond these 11 lessons that you have given, and that is some awareness. So I now request all the attendees, if you have any question to Professor, then please just put it in the chat box. We'll take up your questions, and then I'll request Professor Sridhar to give some highlight on that.
Sir, while we are waiting for the questions, in fact, I thought let me start.
Okay.
So it was definitely very interesting. In the pie diagram where you are talking about the vulnerable road users, today we see the two-wheelers, especially the motorcycles, the scooters. Means they are although motorized users, but then they fall into the category of these vulnerable users. So any thought that how do we address the concern related to that particular section, people, those who are on two-wheelers?
Yeah, basically we call them vulnerable road users to all of them, where they don't have a primary protection like a car or a bus or somebody. There is a steel shield around the passengers or the driver. But in these categories, they do not have that first level of protection. They are immediately impacted by anybody coming and hitting him. So as a result, they are called vulnerable road users. Now, vulnerable road users with a high proportion, like 80% in our vehicle fleet in the country, and in any road at any point in time, you will find 50% or even more sometimes. In Delhi's road in peak hours, you can see it's only two-wheelers and very few cars. That kind of situation. Now, point is that unless they are segregated, I mean, I could have shown some videos, etc., which I show in lectures, but I thought this should be kept clean, so I didn't show all these videos, where they try to get into the footpath, or if footpath is also blocked, then they will go to somebody's veranda probably. So this is such a flexible vehicle. It can be driven on any kind of surface and under a very narrow pathway. And that's why with this flexibility, they make themselves more vulnerable. Between two cars, between two buses, between two trucks, they get in and ultimately get crushed or whatever. So that's why the vulnerability is there. Only thing is that if we can segregate them in cities or kind of urban areas where there is space available, if we can do that, I mean, if they go in one file in one segregated space, I think this problem that is faced with something like 38% of entire country's 151,000 fatality is only to two-wheelers. And that is a real sad situation. And this is increasing. It was something like 10 years back, it was about 25%. And today it is 38%. And it is climbing up and up. And that is really scary in some sense.
Yes. Something on like a dedicated two-wheeler lane probably can be useful.
Exactly. Exactly. And Malaysia
That-
and Indonesia and other few places, they have tried it and they were very successful. In their expressways, even they have given, I mean, you cannot deny them. In our expressway, Gurgaon Expressway, it was originally planned without two-wheelers. But how can stop two-wheelers? Who can stop two-wheelers? They will go anyway. And that's what
Yes,
has
sir.
happened.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Uh, I just also like to just out of my curiosity, I'd like to just ask one question, sir. That as you have discussed that we do have hope for India. So,
Yeah.
if we look at any big problem, we always feel that if we take a small step at a time to traverse a big path, then it helps. The small and the quickest step actually helps.
Hmm.
So, what in your opinion should be that first small step towards solving this larger problem?
Actually, there are pockets of excellence we have in our country as well. In some places, they have done wonderfully well, and in some way, I mean, you can see that their performance probably as good as Sweden. But question is, it's not available uniformly, and our numbers are so large, so big. I mean, our Uttar Pradesh state is something like few countries in Europe. So that's how the problem is, and question is, enforcement needs to be. Enforcement is one thing which is not to penalize people. It is to make people conscious that your behavior is demanded to be a composed one, safe one, and that's all, nothing else. I mean, it is not going to bite anybody at any time, but it has to be camera based, technology based, so that even at night 2 o'clock, if somebody turns without giving turn signal, he should be caught. He should be caught. Why he should be turning or jumping red light at that point in time, dead hours of the night? At any point in time, your behavior should be same, or rather, road safety rule is same practically, and that's how it should be. You are muted. You are muted.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Yeah, so there is one question from a like attendee Nirmal Chakravarti, and the question is very much aligned with the question raised by Professor Parida a few minutes back. That what is your viewpoint on segregating the two-wheeler from the other vehicles? And you have also highlighted the advantages. So we would also like to know that what are the disadvantages of doing the segregation? If you have something to share on that.
There is no disadvantage except that it needs extra right of way. Obviously, it will be costly. I mean, even to get our 2 lane or 4 lane roads, the right of way width available often inadequate, even for 2 lanes or 4 lanes. And junctions are always without the adequate land available. But unless you spend that money, you spend the money through road accidents. And that's what GRSP said. Unless you spend money in building network, you will spend anyway. And that's how global estimate is that India loses something like 900,000 crores of rupees every year. That's the estimate as of today in the global context. I mean, for various countries, it has been estimated, and India's estimate is something like more than 900,000 crores of rupees lost through accidents, injuries, fatalities, and so on. There are a couple of other
Okay.
questions, as it says. Says
Yes,
Ravikant, Mr. Ravikant said we are facing a lot of road safety issues even after so having many safety measures. Is it safe to say this system failure or mistake by road users? Well, I would answer this. I mean, Mr. Ravikant's question. Recently, some time back, I was traveling through I mean, very good highway, or so to say, expressway. And there were two stalwarts in this same vehicle with me. And they asked me, uh, I mean, why don't you tell us something? What do you do about the road safety audit and how do you find things are not right? I immediately turned to them and told, you all have traveled in the Western countries, America, UK, and other places. You might have got down onto the road, highways, and seen the highway. You will see where a crash barrier is required, it is there. You will find the side slope is such that it is kind of appropriate side slope. Uh, Marking, where marking is required, it is there. The everything is in place. But in our road, I asked the driver, please stop the vehicle. Let us see if this road is built completely. We got down and showed them some 10 shortcomings. Roads are not built with the finish. All that is required for the road at a particular place is not done completely. And that's how it remains weak in some form or the other. I mean, recently we discussed in a meeting that this 3-meter embankment height where the crash barrier is required. Along the roadside, there is a 1.5-meter deep side drain. Now, this becomes 4.5-meter total. A vehicle falling from the embankment, he will go to the bottom of that drain, not to the OGL, original ground level. And that's what is another mistake in our code or standard, which kind of overlooks. And now they're thinking of making it 2 meters. So what not? I mean, like that, there are plenty of things which can be considered, which shows that safety in totality is missing. Safety in totality, in parts, it is there, here and there. But unless it is in totality, I mean, that's what is safe system. I mean, it has to be attacked from all angles, all angles. Just making good roads and don't have emergency response, then any accident that happens, fellow will be killed there, bleeding to death in the site of accident. So that's what is the all actions must be done simultaneously, and then only safe system is built. That's what.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. So there is another question from Ms. Triptigar that there are always seasonality in accident patterns. Like in India, some months may see more accident than the rest of the year. What action should taken to minimize the crashes caused by unavoidable climatic conditions? So if you want to highlight on.
Yeah, which month, January, February you are mentioning? Is it that?
No, she has not mentioned any month,
Any
but
month, okay, okay.
she's talking about the seasonal variation.
Yeah, seasonal link is something like in North India, it is related to fog or any such situation. And in Kerala or Western, kind of parts of the country, it is the rains, where things are flooded or kind of road surface itself is so bad and so on and so forth. So there has to be appropriate correction by the road authorities towards that. I mean, there is no safety related additional things that can be done. We can do something like, as you see in vehicles, they provide the fog lamp. Fog lamp is provided so that it can penetrate the fog. Recently, we are trying to do something in one of the roads where we want to say that the lights, the street lights that will be provided along this expressway will be the fog penetrating light. This is designed with some kind of special kind of LED lights with some different kind of vapor put inside, not like sodium vapor lamp. Sodium vapor lamp doesn't penetrate the fog, and like that, any such kind of seasonal effect. Seasonal effect, I am taking it something like fog and rain and something like that. But in addition to that, if there are seasonal, like harvest season, more traffic, volume of traffic is more, density of traffic on the road is more, and therefore, obviously, accident could be more. For that, obviously, there has to be better management, better enforcement, just like festival time. As you can see, there are lots of policemen around on the road, and they try to control the traffic if the volume of traffic is more. So that's the way it should be done. But we are trying to do, as I said, we do all enforcement manually. That's where some of the things don't work. It has to be automatic, and people have to have a kind of behavioral change for the fear of the law. And that is not there at the moment, which has to be invisible, and then only it will work.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. Taking the clue of the road user behavior, so our next question by Mr. Aroman is that how can we improve the driver behavior in India? And another question added to that, how can proper planning in cities solve accident without proper driving behavior? So there are two parts of question. First one is how can we improve driver behavior?
Yeah, that's right. Second part, what did you say? I didn't get it exactly.
Second question is that how can proper planning in cities solve the accident without proper driving behavior?
I didn't understand actually.
Anyway, maybe I can rephrase if I can understood correctly that in absence of proper driving behavior or driver's behavior, how the city planning can help to minimize the accident?
How that, what can minimize? Which?
In absence of proper driving behavior.
Yeah, that I understood. That is what can minimize?
City planning.
City plan. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, city plan has got a lot of, and that's why in the second decade of action, as you can see, for multimodal transport, they have asked for proper land use planning. Proper land use planning is required. You have to see that the high-speed traffic doesn't go through residential area or where the road will be occupied by other such pedestrians and cyclists and so on and so forth. So city plan is that where land use is such, land use is distributed in such a way that these traffic volume and speed doesn't mix with the kind of residential area as well as the slow moving traffic wherever there is pedestrian, cyclist, and all such vulnerable road users. In those places, high speed traffic must not be going there. Regarding this driver behavior, how can you control the driver behavior? Enforcement. Only way is to do the enforcement. Driver behavior, I mean, how many of them are driver actually? I mean, whoever is coming to the road, 50-60% of them actually are not drivers. Practically, you can observe. I mean, if you carefully look into the way they are driving, they are not drivers. They learned the driving from their parents or brothers and sisters. They have not gone through the theory of driving or actual practical of driving. That's not there. It's a big responsibility. I mean, you have to accommodate everyone on the road when you are driving. And that philosophy is not there. It looks like as if they are driving on their courtyard. And that's how they drive on the road. And that's not the way. And that will be stopped only by enforcement and invisible enforcement. Visible enforcement is not indiscriminate enforcement. It is discriminating. If a big boss comes, he can do anything, but not me. And that's not the way kind of enforcement should be done. Enforcement should be indiscriminate. Anyone will be caught in the same way for the same fault.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Before we are ending this Q&A section, so I have one just observation, sir.
Yeah.
When you have shown the iceberg and then you compare the ratio of death to injuries 1:3 in India. So somewhere I had a feeling that probably in our context, a minor injury can lead to a death, means percentage of death is more. Like wherever probably for many, like maybe the advancement of the vehicle technology or whatever the management, probably other countries, people injured or major injury happened, but not leading to death. Probably they are giving the incidental management in that golden hour, where probably we do not have such facility to reach to the accident spot and we could save much more life. So that is something I'm feeling. That's why probably it is 1:3. I accept that the data compilation and recording is very poor in our context, but that's what I say. That more towards date. Like even we could save some time, save some life in that crucial time, but we are failing to do that. So I want some highlight.
Yes, that is perfectly right. I mean, our kind of emergency response system is not to be expected yet, and that's not to the international standards. Uh, well, basically, the emergency response has got many dimensions. It is the first responders is one thing. First responder, I mean, people who just gather immediately after accident, sometimes they damage the victim more than what has caused, what has been caused by the accident itself. So handling, so bystanders training is one very important thing in emergency response, and that's one thing. But what other thing you said that this proportion 1:85 and 1:3, that very clearly brings in that we are not recording everything. That actually is there. And World Bank, WHO estimate shows that India's death figure is more than 300,000 as of today. In that case, I mean, if you put it in the same proportion of 1:15:70, you just imagine what will be the kind of injuries. It is unmanageable. And obviously, all these things are kind of scorecard or grade card of the government, you remember. Therefore, it doesn't come in the way it should come.
Okay. Thank you, Professor, for also clarifying some of the doubts and also the questions. Now, I request Professor Durga Toshniwal, head CTRANS, to say a few words.
Thank you, Professor Sadhu Khan. Thank you, Professor Siddhar. I think we all are really mesmerized by your talk and enlightening discussion on such a relevant topic, which is currently of of importance to India largely and to the whole world. It has been extremely beneficial. I'm sure that all of us have really benefited greatly from this. Thank you for speaking for us. On my behalf, I wanted to thank also from CTRANS. Professor Farida sir, would you want to add something?
I just would like to say thanks, and we'll invite Professor Sikdar to visit CTRANS when it is feasible. So your personal presence is going to be very useful. In that time you can visit both CTRANS, Civil Department. We have a lot new faculty, those who have been added working, and like today you could highlight many areas where we can work, especially at CTRANS. We have students with computer science background, like some of the
Yes.
students, those who are asking questions. So they have worked in emergency response system, data-driven accident data analysis. So all those things people are doing. But I think when you personally visit, we'll spend more time with you. We can share the work which we have done. And I'm especially thankful for you for agreeing and delivering the first endowment lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed, presenting as well as interacting with all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I invite Professor Sadhu Khan to deliver a formal vote of thanks to Professor Sikdar.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, I really want to thank you, Professor Sikdar, for agreeing to this particular invitation and enlightening us in this morning. And also, we are taking some of the important note, and definitely in our area, we'll work on that, not as a technical or expertise person, but also as a citizen. There are certain responsibility. Thank you for that. And also, like I would like to thank Professor A.K. Chaturvedi, Director, IIT Roorkee, for initiating this kind of memorial lecture, which actually, bring many such eminent speaker and then, giving us some kind of knowledge. Then I also thank Professor Manoranjan Frida, Deputy Director, and also the joint faculty CTRANS for his presence. Then I also thank Professor B.R. Gujjar and also other joint faculty of CTRANS and other faculty colleagues in IIT Roorkee. Then I also thank all the students, researchers, and other professionals who are actually, watching this particular webinar from different parts of the country. Then also thanks is due to those person for whom this particular online thing is happening. So also thank is due to those technical staff, supporting staff who are managing this particular live show. And with that, I thank you, and it was really nice interacting with you. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well
Thank you,
said.
sir.
Thank you.